You are not starting over at 40 because you failed. But that is not the same as saying this is going to be easy, and this video is not going to pretend otherwise. Most content about starting over in your 40s makes one of two errors. It tells you the discomfort is a sign you are growing, which is technically true and practically useless. Or it gives you a motivation framework that assumes you have the same psychological resources at 43 that you had at 26. You do not. The math is different. The costs are different. The stakes are different. And if you are going to rebuild something real from where you are standing, you need a clear reading of the actual numbers, not a statement about your potential. This video is the actual math. This is for the man who is somewhere between 38 and 54, who is either ending a marriage, leaving a career he no longer recognizes himself in, or standing at the beginning of a reset he did not entirely choose. He is tired, not lazy tired. The specific tired that arrives from years of building something that turned out to be the wrong structure, in the wrong location, on someone else's blueprint. He has consumed enough "it's never too late" content that the phrase has lost all weight. It does not comfort him. It condescends to him, because he already knows it is possible to start again. What he does not know, and what no one is telling him clearly, is what starting again actually costs. If that is the man you are, stay. I want you to imagine a man, a composite of the actual men who arrive at this exact point. He is 42. He came out of a 14-year marriage 2 years ago. The dissolution was mutual, which is to say it was painful without being dramatic. There was no villain. There was a slow divergence that neither person corrected in time. He has also been in the same industry for 16 years. He is competent in it. He is no longer interested in it. That disinterest accumulated quietly over the last 6 years, the way the most expensive changes always do. He has savings, not substantial ones. 14 months of expenses, roughly, if he is disciplined. He has 2 children he sees every other week. He has a lease on an apartment that smells like someone else's choices. And he has, for the first time in a long time, complete and total freedom over what he does with his professional life. He does not experience this as freedom. He experiences it as standing at the edge of a very deep body of water in winter, being told the ice has broken, and he is free to swim. This man is not hypothetical. You know this man. In some version, you are this man. We are going to follow him through the actual math of what rebuilding requires, and by the time we are finished, he will have a plan, not a vision. A plan. But before we get to the math, we need to correct the biggest misread in this entire category of content. Stoicism has become, in popular culture, a synonym for emotional endurance, for suffering quietly, for finding meaning in hardship. This is not Stoicism. This is modern resilience culture, wearing a toga. What Stoicism actually is, in its original form, in its practical application, is a diagnostic tool. A system for identifying what is yours to work with and what is not. A framework for making decisions under pressure without being deceived by your own emotions or other people's opinions. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the Meditations, a private journal never intended for publication, which is important to understand. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The strength he's naming is not emotional resilience. It is structural clarity, the ability to see the field you are operating in, without the distortion that comes from grief, ego, or fear. Applied to starting over at 40, Stoicism offers precisely one thing, a method for sorting everything in front of you into the category it actually belongs to. What you can rebuild. what you cannot recover, and what was never yours to control. This is the tool we are going to use. Everything else in this video runs through it. And this is where the first calculation breaks down for most men. The first error men make when they start rebuilding at 40 is treating time as something they still have, in the abstract. I have 20 years left in my career. I can rebuild this in 5 years. I am still young enough. These statements may be statistically accurate. They are also strategically useless, because they do not account for the specific structure of time in your 40s, which is different, not in degree, but in kind, from time in your 20s. In your 20s, time was renewable. A failed venture, a wrong relationship, a wasted year, these were recoverable because the total time remaining dwarfed the cost of the mistake. You could burn 3 years and still have 25 working years in front of you. In your 40s, time is not renewable in the same way. It is finite in a manner it was not before. Not because you are old, because you are now the age where each decision carries the accumulated weight of all the decisions that came before it. The margin has contracted. Our man at 42 spent the first 8 months of his reset planning around the abstract future. I have time. I don't need to rush this. I want to make sure I get this right. What he was actually doing, and what most men in this position do, was converting available runway into a comfortable vagueness that felt like planning, but produced nothing. 8 months of runway consumed, 0 concrete decisions made. This is the hidden cost of treating time as abstract. It does not feel like spending, it feels like thinking. The bill arrives later. Seneca wrote, "We are not given a short life. We make it short. It is not that we have a small amount of time, it is that we waste a great deal of it." The Stoic reading of this is not a guilt trip. It is a planning constraint. Time in your 40s is not on your side in the way it once was, which means every decision in the next 18 months carries more consequence than the equivalent decision would have at 28. Stop planning around the 20 years you might have. Plan around the 3 years you definitely do. The question is not, can I eventually rebuild this? The question is, what is the most efficient rebuild path, given that the first 3 years are the most expensive, the most exposed, and the least forgiving? Our man at 42 was planning for 20 years. He needed to be planning for 36 months. These are entirely different documents. One is a vision, the other is a plan. Time in your 40s is not something you have in abundance. It is something you allocate with precision or spend without realizing it. But time is not the calculation that costs most men the rebuild. This one is. Starting over in your 40s has a specific financial structure that honest content almost never addresses directly. Here it is. If you are rebuilding a career, switching industries, retraining for a new field, starting something independent, expect your income to drop by between 30 and 60% for the first 1 to 2 years. Not because the new path is worse, because the new path requires a period of re-entry that your previous income level did not. In your 20s, this income reduction was absorbable. Your fixed costs were lower. Your identity was not yet bound to your income level. You could earn less because earning less had not yet become a statement about your worth. In your 40s, working for significantly less carries a psychological cost that does not appear on any balance sheet. The man who was earning $100,000 a year in a senior role, with the corresponding status, the title, the professional identity, and is now re-entering a new field at $60,000 as a mid-level employee, is not just experiencing an income reduction. He is experiencing a renegotiation of his identity. And that renegotiation, if it is not anticipated and named clearly, will break the rebuild before the finances do. Our man at 42 calculated his savings correctly. 14 months of expenses. He experienced this as a safety net. It is not a safety net. It is a runway. This distinction is not semantic. It is psychological. A safety net is something you fall into. A runway is something that ends. When you stand at the beginning of a safety net, you feel protected. When you stand at the beginning of a runway, you feel the urgency of what is required. He needed to feel the runway. Instead, he was managing the comfort of the net. And the difference cost him 3 months of action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." The Stoic financial principle here is not, don't worry about money. It is, know precisely what you have, for precisely how long, and make your decisions from that precision, not from the comfort of the abstract figure. 14 months of runway, at a disciplined burn rate. The plan must produce sufficient income within 8 months, not full income, but enough to extend the runway before it ends. This is the math. This is the present. Take the savings figure. Divide it by your actual monthly cost of living. The result is not a safety net. It is the number of weeks on the runway. Write it as a number of weeks. Look at it as a runway, then work backward from that number to identify the date by which partial income must begin, and treat that date with the same urgency you would treat any external deadline. The comfort of not knowing exactly how long the runway is will cost you exactly the time you cannot afford to lose. The time math and the money math combined are not what breaks most rebuilds at 40, but the actual feeling of restarting your life is. Starting over at 40 requires something that starting over at 25 did not require in the same measure. It requires you to become a beginner again, in a domain where you are not a beginner in life. This distinction is critical, and almost never named clearly. You are not a beginner. You have 15 or 20 years of real professional experience. You have judgment that only arrives through expensive mistakes. You have the perspective that younger men do not yet have access to. None of that disappears. But in the new domain, the new career, the new professional identity, the new social architecture of a post-divorce life, you are beginning from a position of relative inexperience. And your ego, which has spent 15 years accumulating a specific kind of credibility, will resist this. It will not resist loudly. It will resist subtly, through the tendency to stay in conversations where you are the expert, rather than enter rooms where you are the student, through the preference for giving advice, rather than asking questions, through the quiet but persistent sense that learning from someone 10 years younger than you costs more than it produces. This is the ego tax. It is levied on every man who tries to rebuild without acknowledging that it exists. Our man at 42 described the first 4 months of his reset as taking time to think. He was not entirely wrong. But what he was primarily doing was avoiding the rooms where he would have to be the beginner. The consulting calls he never made because he did not want to explain his situation. The junior entry points in the new field he did not apply to because they felt beneath his experience. The industry events he skipped because walking in without a clear title felt like confirmation of something he was not ready to confirm. Each of these was a delay purchased at the cost of runway, not because he was lazy, because the ego tax was not itemized in his budget. He did not know he was paying it. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, which is the most complete form of starting over that exists, wrote, Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life. The tranquility he names is not an emotional state. It is a strategic posture. It is the condition of a man who has stopped spending energy on resisting the circumstances he is operating in and has redirected all of that energy into navigation. The beginner status in the new domain is a circumstance. Resisting it does not remove it. Accepting it as the operating condition and then navigating from within it is what the ego tax, once paid consciously, purchases. Name the ego tax explicitly. Write down 3 rooms you have been avoiding because of it. The call you have not made. The role you have not applied for. The conversation you have not entered. Then enter one of them this week. Not all 3. 1. The ego does not lose its resistance through understanding. It loses it through repeated action that contradicts its prediction. Enter the room. Survive the discomfort. The prediction weakens. Every month spent protecting the previous identity is a month not spent building the next one. Now we come to the actual Stoic tool that makes sense of everything we have covered. Here is the framework. On paper. 3 columns. Column 1, everything you can rebuild. Your skills, your physical condition, your financial position over time, your professional network, your relationship with your children, your daily architecture, your sense of purpose. The quality of your next relationship, when you are ready for it. These are things that time and consistent effort can change. They belong to you. They are yours to work with right now. Column 2. Everything you cannot recover. The years spent in the wrong marriage. The decade in a career that did not fit. The version of yourself at 32 who had options that are no longer available. The alternative timeline where the pivot happened at 35 instead of 42. These are the sunk costs. They do not respond to effort. They do not rebuild. They simply exist, and they will accept your attention without returning anything on the investment. The grief in column 2 is legitimate. The cost of an extended stay in it is real. These are not the same statement. The man who spends his first year of a rebuild primarily in column 2 is not healing. He is not processing. He is spending runway on a column that has no output. Column 3, everything that was never yours to control. The economy you are rebuilding into. The decisions your former partner made. The shape the industry took while you were inside it. The timing of the dissolution. The market conditions of this specific year. Column 3 is the one Stoicism addresses most precisely. Not don't think about it. Not passively accept it. The instruction is, identify it clearly, remove it from your resource calculation, and never direct effort toward its management. It will not return the effort. It was never in your column. Our man at 42 had been operating for 11 months, primarily in columns 2 and 3, without knowing that was what he was doing. He thought he was rebuilding. He was grieving column 2 and resisting column 3. And column 1, which is where the rebuild actually lives, remained largely untouched. When he finally wrote column 1 on actual paper with specific line items, it covered 3 pages. 3 pages of concrete capabilities, relationships, credentials, and resources that were available to him right now, and had been available since the first week. The rebuild had been accessible for 11 months. He had simply been looking in the wrong columns. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But this is only true for the man who has correctly identified which column the impediment belongs to. An impediment in column 1 is something to move through. An impediment in columns 2 and 3 is something to stop carrying. Column 1 is where you live now. Everything else is information. Here comes the practical part, and it is the only part that actually changes anything. This section is not motivational, it is administrative. The first week of a real rebuild does not feel like a beginning. It feels like paperwork. Do it anyway. Day 1. Write the 3 columns by hand. Not on a screen. The physical act of writing forces completion in a way that typing does not. List everything in column 1, every skill, credential, relationship and resource that is currently active and deployable. Everything in column 2, write and close the page. Everything in column 3, write and close the page. End the day with column 1 visible and complete. This is your operating field. Day 2. Write the financial runway with exact numbers. Not, I have about a year. The specific figure in your account, divided by your specific monthly cost of living, equals the specific number of weeks you have before the runway ends. Write the number of weeks. Then identify the date by which partial income must begin and mark that date on a physical calendar. Day 3. Identify the single bridge. Not the full path from where you are to where you are going, the one skill, credential or connection that most directly connects the two, not the whole strategy. The first bridge. Day 4. Make one contact you have been avoiding because of the ego cost. The call to the person in the new field. The message to the connection you have not leveraged. The application to the entry point that felt beneath your previous experience level. One contact. Sent. This is the most important day of the week. Day 5. Establish the physical architecture. Not because physical habits are motivational, they are not. Because the psychological stability of a structured body is what makes sustained cognitive work possible during a period of high destabilization. Sleep, movement and food are not wellness practices during a rebuild. They are load-bearing infrastructure. Days 6 and 7. Review column 1. Add anything missing. Delete anything that has migrated to column 2. Then identify 3 actions that produce output, not process, not preparation, output within the first 30 days. Our man at 42 did this on a Thursday. He had been planning to do it when things felt more settled. Things do not settle before the plan is made. Things settle because the plan is made. Thursday was the first day of the actual rebuild. Every day before it was runway spent on something that felt like preparation, but was, in its honesty, a form of avoidance. Here is what happens to the man who does the actual math, and then begins. He does not transform. That is not the right word for what occurs. He recalibrates. The first 3 months are expensive. They are not motivating. There are weeks where column 1 seems insufficient, where the runway number is more alarming than the week before, where the ego cost presents its invoice at the worst possible time, where the grief of column 2 surfaces uninvited. And then, somewhere in the 3rd or 4th month, something specific happens. The work that was unfamiliar begins to become familiar. Not comfortable, familiar. The man accumulates competence in the new domain. Small amounts of it. Real amounts. And competence accumulated slowly and honestly produces something that motivation cannot. Traction. Traction is what motivation promised and never delivered. It is the specific feeling of movement that builds on previous movement, not enthusiasm, not inspiration. The compound effect of consistent correct action over time. The Stoics called the full expression of this kind of life eudaimonia, not happiness in the shallow sense, but the specific quality of a life lived in complete alignment with one's own nature and one's own judgment. It is not achieved in a single decision. It is practiced daily in the column 1 actions, in the unglamorous work of the rebuild. Our man at 42 is not done. He is not yet where he is going. He is 16 months into a rebuild that will take 3 to 5 years to complete properly. But he has traction. And traction at 42 is not a small thing. It is the only thing. 40 years old and starting over is not a second chance. It is not the universe offering you redemption. It is not a story that resolves in a year. It is the beginning of the most expensive, most honest, most precisely requiring thing you have ever attempted. And it will ask of you things that no amount of motivation will provide. But here is the actual math, reduced to its final line. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from everything you have learned, which is considerable, in a direction that is finally correct. The work begins on the day. You stop waiting for it to feel like the right time. That day is not a moment of inspiration. For most men, it is a Thursday, and the Thursday is today.